Hello everybody, we're back on Lone Oak Farms for another episode. Thanks for coming on here to spend a little time to visit the farm. I'm wondering why my recording bar shows up on the screen. Maybe I can tab out of it. There we go, we'll get rid of that little screen artifact. Almost done planting this field, and we're still on the first day of spring, so maybe when we're done with this, well, maybe we'll, let me see here. Yeah, we don't own these fields down here, so we really don't have much to do unless we went and cut a few trees down. I guess we could enter the forest and start cutting some things, perhaps. But we really don't have much to do with the arable farming part until we cut her for harvest. So we may just speed up time here to kind of keep things moving along. We'll see. But for the moment, he's still working on this. So while he's finishing, kind of like I've done, well, let me borrow a little bit of money so I can get solvent again. So far, the bank is humoring me and loaning me money for how long the patience will last. But I need to make some money. So I want to show a couple pictures again. And I know in a previous video I ended kind of on this picture here, not the last video, but this was one of them. I think just before it shows a picture of my grandfather. This truck was his pride and joy. I remember having a lot of rides in it as a kid. You know, in the right here it's hauling hay, but in the summer during the grass seed harvest, we would put racks on the side of it. It had these big metal racks that would sit kind of in the holes kind of around the bed to where you could haul seed with it. The racks maybe came up to about here, give or take. But I mean, it also could be used as a flatbed to haul bales like it's doing here. And this is down below the pond. Maybe I'll just go, I don't know how much people remember from episode to episode, so I'm sorry if this is repeating anything, but I don't mind repeating it. I love this area. So this is kind of where, maybe a little bit over here, give or take, this is kind of the area where that picture was taken. So it's kind of on the west side, down below the pond. The dike is just up here, as you can see. Um, and most of the time when I worked up there, it was just grass in here. You know, they would pull a hay crop off it. I think occasionally they would irrigate it. Maybe they could get a second one. I don't know. But on occasion, there'd be other things in here they would raise. I mean, I remember one time this was wheat. Actually, both sides were wheat. They've, I don't know that they've ever raised grass seed down here. I know they've raised it up here, kind of in a field. I think in real life, just for perspective, I believe this up here was maybe 13 acres, as I recall, of arable land. And I have a memory of a kid sitting in the back of not this truck. I mean, I was just a little shaver. They were filling it with grass seed, and I think my uncles or somebody got me down to my underpants so I could play in the back of the truck in all that grass seed. I don't know if any of you have ever twiggled your toes in grass seed or been around that, but I was itchy as all get out, but I'm getting out of there. It just isn't the same as wheat. You know, you can kind of do it in wheat or some of the other grains, but man alive, it was itchy. So maybe I'll go to the next. Oh, and I think one year too, they had this full of oats. They made some oat hay. I remember windrowing it and seeing how yellow the pollen was. It went all over the header. So it's pretty steep over in here. This is pasture kind of on the hillside here, fenced off on both sides. It's kind of narrow, but it was one way they could use all of the property, and then the neighbor's property, of course, up there. And at some point, I'll talk in these videos about the field burning they did back in the day. I remember one summer when they had grass in here, they burned the field off, and we all left thinking everything was out. Well, as it turns out, there was some smoldering bits in the field that and got into the grass on the hillside, and it kind of went over into these trees over here, and it was quite a mess. Wasn't a very happy time. You didn't like it when that happened for sure. So I just remember a panic drive home to try to bring water to come in here to put all that out. But let me advance. Well, you're supposed to advance the picture. Oh, yes, I probably need to zoom out. Actually, let me check in game real quick. I don't know what's going on here. Let me make sure this is covered. Or is there just one little sliver up here left? Yep, it appears so. I think I have, let me make sure that's fully seated. Whoops. It appears to be. Whoa, what's all that? Oh, yeah, that reminds me. Okay, I have a mod in here that, to my knowledge, I don't think it was ever published formally. It was made by the same guys who did the Seasons mod, Realismus Modding, and this one had address compaction. You'll notice that it's pink and the surrounding areas are red. I think we all know that if it's red, it needs plowing. So I think the more you drive over this, the more compaction happens. So there's certain kinds of tillage you can do. I think they even had it to where you could adjust the tire pressure so you didn't overly make compaction in there. But I've used it in a couple other apps. It's kind of cool to have that extra effect in there, to where you can literally see your tire tracks in there if you're driving where you shouldn't and the tire pressure is off. So I'll need to watch that a little bit in here. So there's always going to be some compaction, so we see that here, but we'll need to keep an eye on that. But suffice it to say, we are planted. Now, I'm wondering, will it let me fertilize over the top of this? I think I have one layer. Let me just check here. If I take that off, yep, one layer just through the planting process. I can't remember if the game will let me put another one on following the planting process. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll check here to be sure. Then I'll get back to the pictures that I was showing. We've got to take care of the farming first. I'm going to just pull it here and I'm not too, well, yes. Let me turn it around, try to be decent about it and park it in a line. Oh, this is a little bit close to the shed. Actually, I don't think I need my big tractor right now. I need the other one. So let me tab over to here. So I know I'm going to need to do a bunch more fertilizing, so maybe what I'll do is just come over here and fill it up, just for good measure. Hello? Where do I get it? Was it right? It was right along here, right? Somewhere here is a trigger. There we go. And that, of course, is going to deplete more cash, but that's all right. We're good for it. We're honorable country folks. I'm even thinking at the moment, trying to remember how they do this in real life. That's maybe another picture I'll need to show. My uncles are self-taught pretty handy in the shop, whether it's welding or work, mechanical work, those kinds of things. They know their way around a shop and how to fix stuff up and do things in there. And quite a number of years ago, they purchased I almost think this truck had been through a fire. It was in pretty rough shape. So they stripped it down to the frame. Now, will you let me fertilize? Yes, yes. No, it's not going to let me. So I'll tell you what, we'll park it right here. And we're going to just let time go by a little bit. We'll borrow some to get north of. There we go. We'll just wait a little bit. I'll fast forward the time later. But at the moment, I think I was down over here. Anyway, on this, they had bought a truck that had been burned in a fire. They stripped all the old parts off it, took it down to the frame. That's kind of what they wanted. I think the cab was somewhat undamaged. I don't remember that. I think they may have had to buff and polish that up. Maybe they didn't do that part. Don't recall. Um, but they basically restored it, and now I think they still use it as both a sprayer and a fertilizer spreader. When they're spreading fertilizer, they got a big old box on the back of it. And when they're spraying, they got a big old tank on the back of it and have wings that they come out on it. And like I say, I'll need to look up the picture of that and share it with everybody at some point here. For now, let me return to. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure why I went down here. Let me just go up to the barnyard where this picture was taken. Let me hop over the fence. I sure can't hop fences like I used to be able to. Okay, so we're basically standing right here. Oh, there's our puppy. Here, puppy. Well, oh, and there's the edge of their cedar. This is me. I don't know what I was doing. It actually is July 3rd of 93 when the picture was taken. 4020 John Deere tractor. And it looked like it was a little bit chilly. I see it's cloudy in the morning. Usually in July, I mean, this is when harvest is just starting and getting going. So, like I say, I don't know what I was doing. I think my grandmother took this picture of me back in the day. This is now many years ago. But what's weird is I can remember just as plain as day driving the tractor over here and sitting there and looking over at her while she took the picture. Why can I remember that, but I can't remember what I did with the thing, immediately after she took the picture? Just one of those anomalies of life, I guess. You'll see uh, in game here, they have these partitions right where that round baler is sitting. There's several of those heavy partitions kind of between the various areas of the shed, and that's because they store seed in there from time to time, bulk seed, and sometimes also now they will put clean seed in there. But at the time when I worked up there, this was all open in here. All they put in here was just machinery. They didn't put seed over here as a general rule. It was mainly just, yeah. I mean, there'd be a few implements in there, a tractor sometimes. It all depended. This door is open over here. We can go in game and open this, I think. Oh yeah, there's the lines open. And this is kind of in real life, I mean, this isn't how it is on the inside. I'm sure I have pictures. We'll look at those at a certain time. Oh, I got a nugget back there. But back when I worked there, this was the shop, where they worked on all their equipment. Any repairs that needed to be made, servicing that took place prior to harvest or after harvest, it all happened here. Well, obviously, this is a pretty small building, so at some point the shop moved kind of over to a building they had right here. These three grain bins, they aren't there in real life. What is there instead is kind of a warehouse building. And for a while, the shop was handled out of there. And then in a few years, they moved it over here to this facility. At the time, this was just a hay shed, but now they added this. Let me just show you kind of where and you can probably kind of tell there's obviously a shop portion on the left here, and then there's a hay shed portion over here. So they added this bit on the end, for a shop, and it's much nicer working area than what we had back in the day, but that's all right. We made do. But anyway, that was just one picture in the yard of yours truly sitting on a tractor, maybe sitting there so I didn't have to get off and do some real work. This is a picture, obviously looking up at the oak tree and I only remember seeing them do this once. Obviously, that'd be looking kind of up at the hill. I still have oh, I think I do. I'll just kind of, I have no idea where that picture was taken. Might have been kind of at this angle. Obviously, they wouldn't have been up this high. But it kind of was looking up the hill, watching him go around the edge. In real life, this is a pretty steep hill. When it snowed, we occasionally would sled down this hill. So that gives you some idea. I mean, it's pretty steep. And so I think one year for erosion control, they must have had to overwinter it in dirt, so they put a cover crop on there. I can't really tell what the cover crop is. It might have just been some kind of grass. They planted it in strips. Nothing was ever done with it, so I think when they planted it in the spring, they tore it all out, of course. And that was kind of the traditional pattern back in the day. Most of the grass that they grew back in the day was planted in the spring, and you wouldn't get a crop off it the first year that you had it. You would have to wait. It would be over summer, and then it would be the following year that you would get your first crop. So what it meant is sometimes you had a field out of production for basically a whole year. And in years, many years prior to that, even, it could be even out of production 2 years. I don't know what the farmers do anymore on this. It seems like there's so much, you just need to keep it planted, keep it productive. I know there's certain areas of the world they can double crop it. I don't know that they've ever been able to double crop anything at the farm up there, but that seems to be the pattern. And what I was told is back in the day, sometimes they would summer fallow it. So you'd rip the field out, you would leave it out all summer, and then the following spring you'd plant it. So you'd have 2 years out. But but sometimes leaving it out fallow would really help. It was worth it. Leaving it out of production for that one year, you many times made up for it by having better yields in the future. And in real life, I mean, I'm not a farmer. I don't know how all that works. Maybe it depends on the area, depends on the soil, depends on the climate, depends on what you're trying to grow. Probably many, many different factors, as to whether they have to do that. I do know in Farm Sim 19, there was a mod. I don't even know who produced the mod or what it's called, but it kind of was set up for GPS agriculture where you would take soil samples on the fields and you could see kind of what the pH of your soil was, so you could get some idea of the nutrients, nutrition, the level of fertilizer that you had put on, and all of that. And I think built into and kind of working in conjunction with that, the Seasons mod, when it came out of Farm Sim 19, had certain algorithms, where to remember what was planted in the field, and you kind of had to figure out the best possible yield. You didn't just do wheat back to back to back. I mean, you could, but you would end up harming yourself over time, and you wouldn't realize as good a yield. Whereas if you had rotated it with some other type of crop, which I thought was kind of cool to build into the game. But it realistically, in the hills up here, about the only thing they can grow is wheat or grass productively. They've tried a few other things, but that's pretty well it. But this particular year, they had a cover crop to kind of hold it in. I would bet dollars to donuts what he's doing with the spray here is probably Roundup. He's probably killing whatever's on there, maybe getting ready to plant it in the spring, just enough to get it out of the way. But I don't know for sure. By the time I started working on the farm, I think they pretty well retired this old sprayer. It's just a tank and a couple booms. It wasn't very wide, so it took a while to go over the field. But that's what they used back in the day. That's just a 40/20 with duals on there. And I think I have a couple other pictures of this. Yeah, there's just different angles looking out across the field as he's spraying it. Yeah, I don't know why she took so many pictures. This is my grandmother. And I'm not 100% sure where this picture is taken. If I had to guess, it might be up at the top of the hill, kind of up by the lone oak tree. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think this is Mount Hood. So you can see a piece of it there. But I know obviously when we go in game, yeah, sorry, it's going to take me a little while to get up there. Maybe I'll run along the ground. Obviously in game when what am I doing this for? I can just teleport, right? I got that mod in here. There's no need to run. So, so if we're up here, I think that picture would be probably what it is it's zoomed in on that far hillside over there and then looking beyond. So probably if I did a different camera, oops, that's maybe getting more to how the picture is. In the map here, obviously we happen to be able to see a little bit more, but I think it maybe is zooming in, maybe it's at a different angle. It's hard to tell sometimes just where pictures are taken when you're not the one that took it. And even if you were the one that took it, you know, it may be hard enough to remember. So that's kind of this, oops, came off my, oh, well, albeit dumped my pictures. Well, that's a bummer. I don't know what I did that for. I think it was this one here. So I think that's kind of where it's looking, but I could be mistaken too. Only one other picture I would show here. I know I kind of mentioned it in my other series that I'm running at this time on Galvin Valley. There was a neighbor that we had, and I can prove it right here, who had a round baler, but I don't know the Lone Oak. This isn't Lone Oak property over here. I think this road is coming out of Lone Oak's driveway. Kind of hard to tell, but this must be a zoomed in picture. That's their driveway. That's the mailbox headed in. But these trees appear way closer than what they would look like in real life. But that's why I think it's zoomed in. You know, the area where hogs would be raised in the map, I think is kind of over in this area. But there's a truck kind of coming out there with pallets on there for seed. But all of the bales I recall that were made on Lone Oak, that they never were round bales. They were always square bales, whether the small ones that we saw in that other picture or the big ones in the field that were too heavy for one person to pick up. But this particular neighbor, for whatever reason, had round bales. And maybe if, I asked some of Galvin Valley series, but I don't think there's as many people. I don't have very many people that watch me anyhow, because I just started. But if someone could explain to me, someone that's in farming or that knows why or what the advantages are to a round bale versus a square bale, I would like to know because, in terms of making a stack, it seems like a square bale could be more efficient than round bales. But round bales, by the same token, maybe you can move them by hand if you have to. Maybe you can unroll them, and there's a way to feed cattle that way. But just as I think about it, it just seems like it'd be a whole lot easier to handle these square bales versus round. But maybe someone can inform me on that because I I don't know the answer. So anyway, I'll head back in here. Let me fix my camera back to 60 degrees, I believe. So I don't know that I particularly want to do any logging. I do have a chainsaw, but I don't know that I want to get into cutting some trees down. It's first day of spring. I basically need to advance time to get it to tomorrow, where I think I can put on more fertilizer, gonna start taking care of my fields, get it all ready for cropping. So I think maybe what I'll do, let me just, do I have the fast speed? No, I don't. So we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. And you know, I think you'll see up here the sky is moving. And the reason for that is we have the sky swap mod in. I think this is the sky that came with the map, but it's a mod I worked on, oh, it was towards the tail end of the life of Farm Sim 17, maybe even after. There was a number of us that when 19 came out, it was kind of, well, a little disappointing. And so we stuck with 17 for a while. And one of the things I noticed, you know, it's just like Bullet Bill creates a wonderful map like this. And obviously, most of our attention is going to be focused on the map itself. That's where we do the farming and everything. But it was the same old sky that would appear day after day after day. So I decided one day to see if there would be a way to mess with the sky. And this isn't the only sky that moves, and I'm probably not even doing it in a very efficient way. It's just taking the entire skybox and rotating it along the y-axis, I think. Well, I think I've seen some others who put a shader on the sky, and they're able to get the clouds to move around. I think I've seen Oxygen David in some of his later maps in 19, where he has a custom skybox. He will put a cloud in there. Maybe it's on a spline. I don't recall how he does it. I just chose to turn the skybox. You know, it at least, you know, when we're going a regular speed, you can barely discern movement. You got to speed it up to get it there, and there's random speeds that it's going to go. So, and then it's supposed to quit turning, and it's supposed to be timed with when evening hits, which is kind of there we go. Now we're going to see the sunset start to happen. And this is a gorgeous one that's Bullet Bill put into the map. So actually, you know what? I'm going to slow down and I'm going to just take me a picture. Maybe get up a little bit. Get the lone oak tree in there. I don't know how to take a picture really either. But it'll be something I can put on the video thumbnail. Boom, got it. And then we'll, let's see, I gotta remember the controls here. Alt. How do I do my seasons? Maybe I need to fast forward a little bit. At some point, I know I can advance to the next day. Aha, I do have fast forward in here. There we go. All right, so we're gonna skip the night and we'll head into the next day. And I'm not even sure where I'm at. I guess it makes sense to terminate the video here. And maybe we'll just terminate it just looking at this awesome sunset. There were times we were up there when it was this time of day and you could get a gorgeous view up there as the whole sky lit up like it was on fire. Lots of memories there too. Thank you all for watching. I hope I'm not boring anybody to tears with all my rambling on, but I really appreciate you stopping by and taking time to come here. So I'll let you go for now, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.